Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Country Music Armadillo Show. We've got a great show for you here today. Our guest this week from the Louisville, Kentucky area, Nick Dittmeier, the namesake and frontman of Nick Dittmeier and the Sawdusters. Nick, thanks for taking time out of your busy day to join us here. I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
So, your music is to me, it's very deep, and I get a lot of I see a lot of influences in it. So who are your main musical influences that you infuse into your music now?
Um, I guess go-to kind of stuff. That I really like is Drive-By Truckers, John Prine, Little Feat would definitely be on that list. And then I guess like a lot of stuff like Steve Young and Steve Goodman would definitely be in there. And then of course a lot of country music that I'll like Willie Nelson. I'm a huge Willie Nelson fan. Put that in the category. And then a lot of newer stuff like Hayes Carl and Turnpike Troubadours.
Yeah, I love those guys. You kind of look like Willie Nelson when you get right down to it.
I don't know about that. He's pretty old.
Well, yeah. He's got a couple years on you, but
yeah.
So, how did you get your start in music?
My grandma, who's still alive, she's in her 80s, and she's a music teacher, and she's actually she still teaches a handbell choir at church. But she was a music teacher, and my dad plays guitar too. And when I was in middle school, I wanted a guitar because I wanted to write songs. I wanted to be in a band like Smashing Pumpkins or the Offspring or something like that in the mid '90s. And so she she borrowed, quote unquote, a guitar from the school she was teaching at, and taught me some chords. Taught me some chords on guitar, and and then went from there. She always really emphasized taking lessons and trying to learn as much about music and music theory and the construction of it and how it all worked.
Sure.
So yeah, it kind of all starts with her and her being encouraging about the music.
So, how young were you when you started playing in bands and?
Bands. Well, so I started playing guitar when I was 13, and so there was a music teacher over in Louisville at this private college called Bellarmine University, and my dad had actually taken guitar from him in the 70s, and so I got hooked up being one of his guitar students. Yeah, I mean, I was just playing in these like weird like college jazz groups until I met some guys and we started a band and what it was there was this all ages punk space in Louisville called the Brick House and there was some friends from school and they had a band and I remember going and seeing them and then feeling like, hey, like this is something that I could do, because I had songs. It was like working on stuff and I had been doing songs for a long time and I felt like, after seeing some kids at my school play, like it was something that was definitely attainable.
Sure. So, how did you get with the current members of your band now? I'd love to have all of those guys on one of these days, but you and Zane would probably have to be the ringleaders because, John and Aaron and I would probably hijack the whole thing and talk about wrestling the whole time. So you'd have to be the straight man in the circus that day. But how did you come to find those guys?
Well, I knew Zane. There was a band I was in, like in my early 20s, and his brother Zane was briefly in this band, and his brother played drums in the band, and so that's how I met Zane. And really, about 2 years ago, I was kind of doing the solo project thing and trying to get it all together, but I needed somebody, I needed people that were more reliable, and Zane was looking to really dedicate himself into music. And Clay, I've known Clay. I met Clay. We were in bands that played together, and he knew about my music and liked it, and we became friends and kind of bonded. And then Aaron came in because he grew up with Zane in Danville, Kentucky, and then So when our bass player was quitting, Zane knew him, and he was living in Bowling Green at the time. But I think he wanted to leave. He was wanting to move out or whatever. So we played a show in Bowling Green, invited him out, and then he joined the band after that.
So you guys have been together as a group for how long now?
Really, technically, the four of us, like a little over a year, like maybe 14 months. But like, and then when Aaron came in, see, it was just like the name of the band was just like the Nick Dittmeier Band or like Nick Dittmeier. But like Aaron suggested that we have like an and the kind of thing, and so the Sawdusters actually was Aaron's idea.
Okay.
But yeah, so when he came in, that's when we kind of officially changed the name. That was back in like October 2014.
Okay, I do like the name. It's very very unique, but it's very simple. It fits.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you guys are more of an Americana band, which I mean, Americana is one of those things where does it fall? What's it like being an Americana band? Because you get a lot of folks who come for the rock type stuff, and then you get folks who come for the country type stuff. So how do you keep the balance between the two?
Well, I guess the Americana thing, the way I look at it is it kind of came along for branding purposes, for marketing purposes,
Sure.
For a crop of acts and bands and probably like what I assume is a lot of like kind of aging acts, that weren't really country but had some country fans, but in the folk category too, that had some of those fans. I think a perfect example of it would be John Prine or Emmylou Harris, where these people weren't committed to that genre and definitely weren't making mainstream country music, but they still had fans. So there kind of had to be a way to describe it to people. I think Americana is the like correct nomenclature now, but back 10 years ago, it was alternative country or alt country, and it's almost like that phrase has kind of been retired in lieu of the Americana stuff, and then with the rise of like the Americana charts and the Americana Music Association has kind of given it this level of branding that I think that like the acts really they needed that, they needed something to call it, and
Sure.
even but even when you say you're Americana, that fits under so many things because a lot of even like Cajun music is fit in the Americana. Technically, jazz would be in the Americana category, or somebody like Robert Randolph would be in the, so it's kind of broad, but the people that like it know what that term is and usually respond to that pretty easily. And there's been a pretty decent infrastructure, for us, with radio and a lot of, venues and blogs and house concerts and concert series. And so I think with that, just naming it, just calling it something, just being able to put it under an umbrella, even though it's a very like nebulous term, I think, it does a lot of good, really.
Sure, I agree, and it's one of those things that I get some people who are like, well, that's not country. Well, yes, it is. It's just, you see, when I first started the page, it was the Ameripolitan Country Armadillo, and there's another very broad term that describes a lot of different styles of music, and I'm trying to generalize everything together because, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I'm making all this up as I go along, but it is a very broad term, but a very useful one because it separates things that need to be separated. So, is there ever any disagreements about the kind of things that you guys should play in the band, or are you guys all pretty tight and you've all got the same vision?
Yeah, that's one thing that's never really a problem. Like being on the same page as far as generating material. And I guess like the way that we come up with new stuff, because we've been working on new songs and getting new stuff together too. But it's usually like, I write the songs and I'll demo it, and then I'll kind of shoot a basic demo to the guys, and then when we get to practice, we'll kind of start to go over it and kind of fit it in there. And the approach is always like, for me, like nothing's set in stone. Like everything has to have its time to develop, And then like covers wise, generating covers and doing covers and stuff like that. I mean, listening wise, we're very much on the same page of things, and we have time to kind of talk about those things, or ideas for things when, well ahead of time, to kind of, if it feels like a good idea on the surface, but maybe once you try to start doing it, it's not a good idea. Sure. I feel like you have that time to kind of vet that and to let that process play out.
I really like the camaraderie that you guys have. You guys were out west here recently, out in Colorado, I believe, and every day I seen Clay and Aaron posting pictures of things you guys were just out hiking in the countryside. And, I mean, you seem to always be together and a really close group of friends, which is a good thing, and I really enjoy that.
Yeah, I would say we are a band. We do this, and this is like really the only thing we do. But I mean, aside from that, like as people, I do like everybody in the band. We all are friends. We don't like hang out that much, honestly. I don't think really anymore. Outside of band stuff, we don't. Sometimes we do, just because we spend so much time together. But sure. we are friends. Like on a genuine level.
That's great. So, what was it like? You've just released a new album here back in January, Midwest Heart, Southern Blues. If you haven't heard it, you need to go out and hear it because it is one of my favorite releases of the year so far, and I don't think that's going to change. Just excellent work, top to bottom. What was it like recording that? How long did that take?
Not long. We dove in, and then we actually got all the drums and bass done in like one day, like miraculously, like 10 songs. I thought it would be really good if we got half of that done. But we had really demoed the songs a whole bunch of times and done a lot of pre-production for the record. So everything happened really quick for that. And I think once we're doing a vinyl release of the record. And we got the test presses back this week, and honestly, like when I make music and I put records out and stuff like that. A lot of times after the preliminarily having to listen to it so many times to get it done and the mixes and everything, sometimes I get this, and then having to play it out. Sometimes I just don't listen to my music for a long time, because if I'm not forced to, or because we're playing it, and I know playing it live changes it, but I mean, I kind of feel like it makes me really nervous to listen back to it months after the fact, because it's so set in stone. Like there's no turning back. With it after that. So I was forced to listen to it on vinyl from start to finish a couple times to make sure there were no quality issues. And the record, it's like we didn't set out to make a perfect record. Like the record, it isn't without mistakes. Like I know that. Like I can, like it's not supposed to be some salient, safe, like totally flawless record. But like that to me is the record that I personally want to make. And I think it takes a long time as a songwriter to get comfortable with your flaws. And I feel like that's something that's taken me 10 years or more to get to that point of like feeling like I'm comfortable with my mistakes. I think all the people that I admire, it's like they're comfortable with their own mistakes. Like Neil Young or even like Willie Nelson or the Replacements or the Drive-By Truckers or any of those people. That's really like a common thread with a lot of the music that I like, like listen to things that weren't totally perfect and knowing that that isn't the only way for that to come out, on the record.
So you said it's being scheduled for a vinyl release. Do you have any idea when that could be?
It's going to be in the fall. I do know that because we have our test presses back and we've I need to go ahead and approve those. So then from there it goes into manufacturing, and then so I don't really have an exact date, but it'll probably be in November, I would assume.
Okay. I need to get my vinyl collection. I've got some vinyl, but I don't have a player yet. So you guys have been out touring and supporting that album since it came out earlier this year, and I understand there was a kind of an interesting scenario that resulted in a free lodging for you guys. So you told this story on stage in Indianapolis, and I was there, and I got quite the kick out of it. But I have a kind of sophomoric sense of humor as a pro wrestler. I'm a great big man child, but I'd like to go ahead and hear you tell that story again, just for my own shits and giggles.
Sure. I don't really know what version of the story I told, but the long and the short is that. Well, here's the real story. I'll tell you there's actually the real story. There was the stage version, and there was the real version.
Okay.
Okay. So the real version of the story was we were in a hotel in Tupelo, Mississippi, and Aaron was walking around, and in a corner, like by a stairwell, he found like a glass dildo, and Clay was in the shower, and I think he was going to throw it at him or something. He was going to bust in, and he didn't for some reason. So then Clay had the idea that he was going to go to the front desk with it and say that we found it. So he did, and they actually ended up giving us he claimed that we found it in the room. And so that's why we got a free hotel room out of it. But yeah, I don't remember completely what I think. On stage I might have told that story like it was in a room, but the truth was it was not in our room.
Well, yeah.
He found it. So,
well, you pick up a unknown sex toy. You should probably get a free room out of that just because. So,
yeah.
No harm, no foul there. I just hope he washed his hands.
Yeah. Well, he picked up with a plastic bag.
Okay.
As I remember.
So, you're one of my favorite songwriters out there right now because your songwriting, I describe it as deceptively deep. Because you can listen to your songs and you can miss a lot of deep stuff if you're not listening carefully. And we're going to go ahead and take a break, and I'm going to play one of those songs, and I want the listeners to really listen and concentrate to the lyrics of this song because you can hear Nick talk about some of his frustrations as an artist where he's playing to people who aren't paying attention. It's really one of my favorite songs. This is Nick Dittmeier and the Sawdusters and Stabbed to Death in Ohio.
While the Seymour skyline looks so mighty nice, the car slides out on the snow and ice. Well, I gotta keep driving. I don't see a soul. Maybe I'll pass the saw truck on up the road. Oh, the last thing I said is burning in my brain. Everything's fine, baby, we might get rain, but now it's winter, slush and snow. My wheels keep scraping over 65 north. Well, I tried to take, baby, it would never last. I get on this highway, I never come back. Oh, there's too much risk, there's no safe bet. I'm another year older and deeper in debt. Probably just get stabbed to death in Ohio. Like a jagged knife hit a rusty wound, and I just bleed out in this old ballroom, and the crowd stand around, try to remember my name, and then they'll just turn up the Indians game. Well, I know I die angry, but I'll curse them all. I mail posters to the bar, they never hung them on the wall. So what was it for? And what does it mean to write poems for people who are staring at screens? I tried to tell you, baby, you would never last. I get on this highway, I never come back. Oh, there's too much risk, there's no safe bet. I'm another year older and deeper in debt. How's it gonna end? We'll never know. Probably just get stabbed to death in Ohio. I made one more mess for those people to clean, and my wife will get the call. Her answer, I know she'll get one more. Well, I told her so. Well, I tried to take baby, it would never last. I get on this highway, I never come back. All is too much risk. There's no safe bet. I'm another year older and deeper in debt. Well, how's it gonna end? We'll never know. I'll probably just get stabbed to death in Ohio. I'll probably just bleed out here in Ohio.
Welcome back to the Country Music Armadillo Show. That was Nick Dittmeier and the Sawdusters with Stabbed to Death in Ohio. Like I was saying, your songwriting is so deep, and if you don't pay attention, you can miss a lot of stuff. So is that something that you are attempting to do, or is that something that just happens naturally with it?
I mean, I guess to sum up this record in a lot of ways was there was a poster that we did for to promote the album, and people that participated in the pre-order we had too. They got one of these, but it was a poster and it had it said for fans of songs about whatever, and it was a bunch of nouns like dogs, pills, like trains, like all these things. So I think a lot of the record is just trying, I guess, break things down to kind of a simple level, instead of trying, I feel like maybe we're talking about the same thing here, but maybe when you take something and make it really simple, maybe what you don't reveal about it, if people are paying attention, they can see those things,
Sure.
but that's kind of how I felt with a lot of it. Like a good example is the first song on the record, My True Love. It's just supposed to be really simple. Like I was thinking about that song the other day because I was working on some songs, some new stuff, and I was just thinking about how with that song, like I don't, just very compartmentally talking about the different characters, and it's just supposed to be like a kid's song or like a children's book, really, where like you have a noun, a short description, and it goes back to like a repeating phrase, more than anything. So then it goes to another noun, then a repeating phrase, another noun, and then a repeating phrase kind of thing. So I think as a band, sometimes I think we have almost an obsession with simplicity, of things, and, subtlety of things, and I don't, I wouldn't say that maybe the lyrics are, fall into that category too at times.
Sure. I really, really enjoy it. I appreciate it as an art because it's not easy, and I certainly understand that, and you don't see a lot of people, I don't think, doing what you do. So I want to share just a quick story. You've got your song Pills, Jesus, and War from the album, and you talk about a little town in Indiana here called Gnawbone that's on Highway 46, and Gnawbone is there's an old gas station, isn't there? I believe.
Yeah, like a storage facility.
Yeah, there's a gas station, some storage units, and a couple of houses. Well, when we go to shows in Louisville and Cincinnati, we always go through Gnawbone, and we were headed to Cincinnati back in February, and I was playing that album for one of my friends in the back seat, and just as we were entering Gnawbone, Pills, Jesus, and War started, and you were singing about, Gnawbone on the 46 back road. I looked at my wife, and I just smiled, and she smiled back at me. It was just one of those ironically funny moments that I live for irony, so
yeah,
I can't help but get a kick out of things like that. So, as a songwriter, if you could pick any artist to record one of your songs, who would you pick, what song, and why?
Oh, that's a good question. Oh, man. come back to me on that one. I got to think about that one.
All right.
That is a good question, though.
Yeah, I know. I've been waiting to break that one out. So you guys are touring and playing shows fairly regularly. You guys have been out as far as Colorado and Texas. Are there any more extensive tours planned in the near future?
Yeah, we're going to we're doing a little run of shows to the south at the end of August, and then we're going through West Virginia Labor Day weekend, and then we're gonna do a run through Texas in September, and then a Midwest run in November, and then we're headed back out to Colorado in December. Okay. So we've got the whole year pretty much planned out. It's just kind of a matter of announcing the dates, and we really love being in Colorado, and we played in Oklahoma and Texas back in March. We didn't get to dig in much, and we pretty much want to be hitting Texas as much as we can in that area, you know. But yeah, I mean, touring, it's we've got a good booking agent, and we've just been trying to just make it work, and we have. So it all's kind of come together a little bit by accident.
Yeah, nice. So you guys do something that I really get a kick out of. When you guys head out on the road, you'll add a playlist, a Spotify playlist of artists that you're listening to or you're going to be playing shows with coming up. So is that something that you guys listen to exclusively, or when you guys are riding up and down the road, are you guys listening to CDs or the radio? What are you guys listening to riding up and down the road?
Well, we don't have a tape player or a CD player in our van, but we've got obviously radio, but then we've got like an FM tuner, so we can like pull stuff off of our phones or make playlists and stuff like that. But the playlist, we don't really actively listen to those on tour. Those are more like to kind of connect the other bands we're playing with, you know, because sometimes they can forget about, you know, stuff. So bands we're going to be supporting, or vice versa. That's kind of why we do that. But you know, I would consider myself kind of on the back burner. I feel like my bandmates are way more in tune with new music and new stuff, and they're generally more than me. I mean, I've got my tastes and things, but I think I digest music a little bit differently. I'm a little slower than they are, especially Clay, and but they're more on top of things and kind of more. They kind of spearhead that maybe a little more than I do.
Oh, sure. Clay's a guy that, you know, I was talking with Mary Spar Friday night, and you know, she described herself, you know, she's got her ear so close to the ground she's like an ostrich. Well, Clay's not far behind that. He's one that anytime he posts something on Facebook, listen to this, I'm like, okay, I got to put that on my list, because definitely can trust his judgment. So, okay, what is one thing that people would not expect to learn about Nick Dittmeier?
In what capacity?
Any capacity you want. Blow our minds. The stage is yours.
I play basketball several times a week, actually.
Really?
Yeah. I'm an avid basketball player.
Okay. Now, are you playing at the Y with other people, or are you just shooting around with yourself?
Me and Aaron, actually, we have this place called Rat Park. Okay. And it's on. So, like, through Louisville, they're building some new bridges, and there's this park that used to have it was a school when I was growing up, but they built a brand new nice park and a walking bridge, so they kind of let this other park, like, deteriorate, and I think they're going to tear it down because they've started building a hotel next to it, but they've had a problem with developing this lot because there's a Civil War burial ground on it, on part of the park. So yeah, we go to Rat Park and play.
Okay. So
was that what you're looking for?
Hey, that'll work. So do you guys ever challenge Zane and Clay to a 2-on-2 NBA Jam style game?
Yeah, on tour we do. Because we try to be active, like on tour, and kill time and like exercise and shit, because just to get moving a little bit and like have a change of pace. But when we play basketball, usually me and Clay are on the same team, like old guys versus younger guys kind of thing.
Well, you guys are both kind of short guys, and those guys are both pretty tall. So
yeah, well, yeah. Me and Clay will be on the same team, and then Zane versus Zane and Aaron.
So did you figure out who you would want to record one of your songs if you had your pick?
Yes.
All right, let's hear it.
It would be Bob Seger.
And which song?
Just My Job.
I'm a fan. That is another one of my favorite songs from the new release. It's one of those songs that, it is so easily relatable to every one of us that it's easy to listen to it and connect right in with it and feel it where it counts. And you can't you can't manufacture that. That's the real stuff. So let's go ahead and get ready to close down. Is there anything? Well, first of all, okay, go ahead and tell everybody about your website. Tell them where they can get the new album.
Okay. Yeah, it's available on iTunes, Bandcamp, Spotify. You can stream it on there. I think just about anywhere you can download music, it's going to be available. Or you could buy a copy from our web store also. And then our website is www.nickdittmeier.com, and then we're across all social media platforms: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube too.
That's great. Nick, thanks for joining us here today. These guys are probably going to be rolling through your area really soon. If they do, get out and see them. It's a great night of music. Hang out after the show. They're more than friendly. Tell them I sent you. Have a good time with them. Get out and support these guys. Nick, thanks for joining us. We're going to have Justin Wells on the show next week. I want to thank Nick again. We're going to get you back in here one of these days with the rest of the guys and have one hell of a time with them all. So thanks, Nick.
All right. Thanks, man.
No problem. I appreciate it. This has been the Country Music Armadillo Show.